Merci beaucoup, Carrie. C'est toujours un peu frustrant comme rôle de devoir respecter l'agenda, le timing. Nous arrivons à la session de clôture qui va tous nous rassembler autour d'un axe. Et je voudrais introduire Jane Bertrand. Chère Jane, tu es éducatrice de la petite enfance, directrice de programme à la Fondation familiale Margaret and Wallace McCain. Et nous avons la grande joie de t'accueillir. On sait que tu as suivi tous les déroulés des sessions depuis hier matin. Tu as travaillé en collaboration avec le Dr Fraser Mustard et l'honorable Margaret Norrie McCain. Vous avez lancé plusieurs études, dont l'étude McCain sur la petite enfance en 1999, l'étude sur la petite enfance 2 en 2007 et l'étude sur la petite enfance 3 en 2011. Tu es une grande spécialiste du early childhood et nous voudrions savoir à ce stade-là quels sont les messages que tu retiens avant d'aborder la suite?
Key messages for us today.
Thank you, Natalie, and thank you very much for everything
Merci,
for this
Nathalie.
event. It's been wonderful.
Et merci d'avoir organisé
and
ce
all of your
congrès. Ça a
team.
été vraiment formidable.
Well, I've been given the task
Alors, on m'a
to
demandé
summarize all the wisdom that
de
we've had put in
résumer
front of us for 2
toute
days,
la
and I'm to
sagesse
do it in less than 5 minutes
nous avons
or less.
récolté
And do it
depuis
well,
le
comprehensive,
début
etc.
de ce congrès
So, a
hier
big
matin.
job, and
Et
I
en
won't be
même
fully
temps, on me donne
accomplished. I
5
do have
minutes. Donc, je ne vais pas y
5
parvenir.
big ideas
Mais
or
j'ai 5
themes that I
grandes
am
idées,
taking
5
away, and I'm going to go
thématiques
through those quickly.
que je vais vous
First of
présenter
all,
rapidement.
we've had a
Alors,
lot
tout
of
d'abord,
discussion about research, data, and monitoring,
discuté
and there
de
seems to
recherche,
be
de données et
consensus
du suivi.
that there is no one
Et
magic
il
bullet that
semblerait
does
qu'il n'y a
everything,
pas de
that we
consensus,
need
il n'y a
to
pas de
be
solution
thoughtful and
miracle.
reflective
Il
on
nous
how
faut
we use data
réfléchir, il
and
faut voir
research. Sir
comment on
Kevin started
utilise les
us that by
conclusions de
talking about
recherche, les
don't
données.
just use
Sir
one
Kevin
study,
avait dit, ne
use,
vous fiez
look
pas à
at a
une seule
systematic way of
étude,
bringing them
mais
together
essayez de
to
tout
see
réunir,
what the research
de
says.
réfléchir
And I
toutes les
think we heard
conclusions de
similar
nos chercheurs.
comments throughout
Et il n'était
throughout
pas
the 2
seul,
days, and
d'autres
certainly Steve Barnett
ont tiré
pointed
cette
that out
idée,
as well
Steve
today.
Barnett aussi, aujourd'hui.
And we need to apply research findings in
Il faut
context
appliquer les
of where we
conclusions de la
actually are.
recherche
Keep that in mind.
dans le
Research.
contexte où on se
Second of
trouve.
all,
Donc, ça, c'était
universality
pour la
seems to
recherche.
be
Deuxième
something
idée,
we are in agreement
l'universalité.
about.
Nous sommes
Some kids
d'accord
may need
pour
more
dire
of
que
something
c'est
than other
indispensable.
kids,
Bon,
but there should be
certains enfants ont plus
universal
de besoins que
entitlement,
d'autres,
and
mais
everybody
le droit
benefits from
est
that.
universel
That we
et tout le
need to
monde
be
doit
in the
en
universal
profiter de ce droit.
approach,
Il nous
also
faut une
making
approche
sure it's inclusive
universelle,
of children
donc,
regardless
et
of
il faut une
ability,
approche
language, and
inclusive
culture.
de
We
tous
need
les
to do
enfants,
that.
quelle que soit leur
Third of
culture,
all,
leur
it
langue,
is
leur
about the
origine, etc.
educators, early
Troisième
childhood
idée,
educators or teachers or
l'éducateur,
assistants.
les
It is
assistants,
quality
les
really
enseignants,
does
les
rest with
institutrices,
their
etc., les
practice and what
instituteurs,
they
la
do.
qualité
And I
dépend
think
de
we've got
ce
pretty good
qu'ils font.
agreement, and we've heard
eux.
from various ways that
Plusieurs
what really
ont
matters
confirmé
is
que
an
ce qui
early
est vraiment
childhood
important,
workforce
c'est que
that is
on est des
responsive
professionnels de
to
la
how
petite
children
enfance
feel
qui répondent bien
and to their thinking,
aux
to their
enfants,
ideas. So that
à ce qu'ils
responsiveness
ressentent
and
et,
reactiveness is
qui
very
répondent
important.
à leurs idées.
Fourth of
Ça,
all,
c'est très
we
important.
talked a lot about pedagogy and
Bon,
pedagogy-related
quatrième idée,
transition.
on a beaucoup parlé
And
de la
play-based
pédagogie,
learning
de la
is something that
transition
keeps coming up in
pédagogique et
various
l'importance
forms. We've had
du jeu,
descriptions of it.
l'apprentissage par le
It's
jeu.
not a single
Nous avons
thing.
eu
It's
plusieurs
a
descriptions,
whole
ce n'est
continuum we
pas,
heard earlier that I think most
une seule
people
chose,
resonated
c'est,
with.
vraiment
But that pedagogy of play-based
quelque chose de
learning is
continu. Mais la
important.
pédagogie
And when we think
fondée
about
sur le jeu est très
transitions, I
important.
think we
Et
want
quand
to
on
think
pense
about
aux
playification.
transitions,
Okay, we've heard about schoolification,
bon, on a parlé de la
pushing down. We want to
scolarisation,
think about
qui est vers le bas.
playification
Et nous, on
that
voudrait,
stretches play-based
en fait,
learning into primary
élargir,
and beyond, in that
le
notion,
jeu,
curiosity, inquiry,
à l'école
etc.
primaire
And that's
et
important.
au-delà,
And
parce
we
que
need
c'est
to
ça
pay
qui est
attention
utile
to what
pour,
we just,
la curiosité,
Carrie's
stimuler
question in the
l'émerveillement,
last session.
l'imagination
We
ici.
need
Et
to
puis,
pay
comme Carrie
attention
disait
to
dans
kids'
la dernière
relationships
session,
and interactions with each
s'intéresser
other. They're
aussi
very,
à comment
very
les enfants
important, and we
interagissent
often
entre
don't
eux.
regard
C'est
them at
très,
all.
très important. Et
And
souvent,
finally,
des
we
choses
want
nous
to talk
échappent,
about, I
on
want
ne
to talk about
s'intéresse
public
pas assez à
policy.
ça.
public policy matters, and we need public policy. I think there's a fair amount of agreement. We need public policy for a continuum of education. Maybe not even have to worry about transition policies, because it would be a single continuum that is much smoother for children. And with that could come intersectoral collaboration with family policy, health, etc. So those are my 5 takeaways.
Voilà les 5 idées clés que je vous laisse.
Merci beaucoup, Jane.
Thank you so much.
Nous allons aborder
Jane.
donc la session de restitution avec l'ensemble des experts qui vont nous donner leur point de vue sur ce qu'ils ont retenu de ces 2 journées. On va démarrer avec le grand témoin de ces 2 journées, qui est Alberto Lidji, président-directeur général de la fondation Novak Djokovic. C'est avec plaisir et gratitude que nous vous accueillons. Alberto Lidji est le directeur général mondial de la fondation Novak Djokovic, une organisation axée sur l'éducation et le développement de la petite enfance. Il est collaborateur de la Economist Intelligence Unit, EU Perspectives, fondateur de Maximum Philanthropic Benefits et donne occasionnellement des conférences à la London School of Economics. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Lidji, de bien vouloir nous rejoindre et de nous donner votre sentiment et une idée des perspectives dans l'investissement social dans la petite enfance. Merci.
Social investments in early childhood education.
Hello, good afternoon. It's an honor to be here, and it's a privilege as well. I'm just wondering where the clicker might be for the slides.
Je peux avoir le dispositif pour mes transparents, s'il vous plaît.
Like I say, no, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. It's amazing that it's been 2 years since the first Congress. It's great to see a lot of familiar faces, and I'm already looking forward to the one that's going to be happening in 2 years' time. So, that'll be very good. Let's see how we get these slides working. So, I'd like to cover a little bit about generating support. And I'm here as it's labeled as an expert witness, but essentially what I'm going to give you is an insight into how we operate in a foundation and our focus, and some takeaways that might be counterintuitive, but that I find very useful and that I think you will as well. So I know that it's limited time today, and what I've done is just narrowed it down to 4 talking points, and we can, normally I would say to the audience, let's just have a Q&A and all of this, but it's going to be a little bit difficult. So what I would say is, if you have any questions afterwards, just either approach me or drop me a note at some point. It'd be a pleasure to catch up with you. I'm going to give you a little bit of a background of me, where I came from, and I put there unconventional stakeholder, because I am very unconventional in terms of this space, and the sort of personality and person that I am is arguably the sort of segment that foundations and individuals looking for social investment should conceivably approach. I'd love to give you an insight into the Novak Djokovic Foundation, which I should point out is a lot more than just a celebrity foundation. We're a strong, vibrant, and thriving operating outfit internationally, and I'll shed some light into that. You're probably familiar with our founder, who's well known in the tennis circuit, but you may not be familiar with the foundation. So I'm going to shed a little bit of light at that, and give you some trajectory, where we've been over the last 10 years, where we are now, and where we're looking to be. And for us, in terms of where we're looking for the next horizon, is really 2030, which sounds like it's a little bit far away, but actually it's going to be here very, very quickly. So what are some of our ambitions for that, and how do we get support for that? And the bits that I'm going to encapsulate about how we get support for that might be counterintuitive, because they don't necessarily include fundraising or development or these sort of terms that you hear a lot, but they include a very collegial and consensus and coalition building sort of approach. And if you're really going to be looking at having a system-wide change, nationally, regionally, globally, that's really what you're going to have to do. It's not so much a shortage of money in this world, as opposed to having a shortage of really interesting, fundable, high-quality, scalable opportunities. So a little bit about myself. First of all, I'm first and foremost a dad. I have two girls, a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old, so I'm a better CEO because of them in this space. And likewise, I think I'm a better dad because of the privilege I have in learning from all of you guys. So that's symbiotic, it's a win-win, and I'm delighted, and I'm just very proud I stuck that in there. But my background's very much from the private sector. So I used to be in finance, capital introduction, dealing with high net worth individuals. And gradually, these individuals started asking about impact investing and social returns and quantifying these things. So they took a very dispassionate approach to all of these things. And I found it fascinating, and that's gradually how I got into philanthropy. So I'm very much, when I'm operating here, I'm very much still within that core thinking about quantifying things and social returns, and hopefully making a more efficient market for what is still very nascent social investment space that could benefit from a lot clearer definitions and a lot more sophistication in the tools that can be deployed for quantifying ad hoc opportunities in a manner that's going to be, that one can aggregate and then trade and have a more liquid market and so forth. So that's pretty much it. I am a paragon or a poster child of globalization. I'm from Argentina originally. I've lived in 6 countries. I have 3 citizenships, and I don't look at the world as one country. I look at it very much as a world of opportunities. And if I believe that what we're doing has positive impact in one jurisdiction, then why limit it to just that jurisdiction? And so I put that in front of me because that's my take, and I think that's the take that a lot of people that I'm speaking with in London and New York, that's their background as well. So a lot of organizations have this tension between local and global, and that doesn't exclude us. We also have that tension as well. But I always tell people, wouldn't it be a shame if Novak only played in Serbia? He plays globally, and so we can be active globally as well. So our foundation has been founded 11 years ago. So 2017, we celebrated our 10th anniversary, and it was co-founded by Novak Djokovic and his wife. They also have 2 toddlers as well. So we're all sort of living the early childhood piece, and we focus on early childhood education and early childhood development. Operations-wise, we're very much in Serbia. So we build preschools, deliver high-quality teacher training, and provide support to parents through different mechanisms. And really, we try to focus wherever possible on the disadvantaged, marginalized, and at-risk youth in the country. And globally, we have some really fascinating partnerships, and this is where the collegial side comes in. These partnerships are there for a reason, and they not only help us and help the organizations with whom we're in partnership, but also they make practitioners have more research and available to greater resources. So we work very closely with Jack Shonkoff at the Center of the Developing Child at Harvard University, and we have the Djokovic Science and Innovation Fellowship there. And for us, the bit that attracted us to that was about filling the gaps in the academic body of knowledge. And I'm noticing that this clock's moving very quickly. And filling the gaps in the academic body of knowledge, because there are some gaps, and there's some early reference to Perry School and Abecedarian and so forth. I mean, these are very small samples, and yes, they have benefits, but there's a lot of gaps, basically, that we need to address. With the World Bank, Early Wins for Lifelong Returns, the partnership that we have with them, they're currently investing $50 million into Serbia for early childhood, but it enables us to engage with policymakers, not just in Serbia, but globally, particularly finance ministers. So if we want to encourage individuals to deploy greater financial resources, engaging with the finance ministries is certainly a worthwhile thing to do. And we work very closely with UNICEF as well. So it's a Goodwill Ambassador program, and that enables us to engage with a global audience, a lay audience, and communicate essentially the complex messages that are derived from your research in a manner that's palatable to someone who really may not care what a policymaker or the president of the World Bank has to say, but for better or worse, they listen to what a superstar tennis player has to say. So if we can encourage parents around the world to appreciate the role of fathers, not just mothers, to do away with corporal punishment, to read to their kids, to engage in social serve and return, everybody's better off. So these are partnerships that we developed, and there's a purpose for all of those. And again, It's just an ecosystem way of looking at things. So we've been around 10 years. The truth is that when we started 10 years ago, we had no focus whatsoever. We just had some money, wanted to do good, benevolent, and that was it. But gradually we realized that we weren't going to be able to move the needle on anything if we didn't focus. And so we started gravitating towards early childhood education. And it's great we did. And obviously there's all the strong economic arguments and neuroscientific arguments, but we love it anyways, even if there weren't these arguments there. Now we're expanding actually a little bit into more early childhood development, starting to look beyond the 3 to 6 age bracket, but actually looking at prenatal to 3 and appreciating that a lot of what happens there is very important. And that's where we are now. And that's the sort of introspection that we were doing when we reached our 10th anniversary. And we thought about what would the next 10 years look like. And we thought, well, instead of doing the next 10 years, why don't we just wrap it up and go up to 2030, which is nicely aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals. And obviously, there's a lot of very worthwhile things to pursue there. But for us, Target 4.2 is really interesting in terms of preschool and how we measure it. And so we'd love to have a situation where in 2030, 90% of children in Serbia have access to high-quality preschool education. Currently, it's just over the 51 mark, and the quality component, there's different views on whether this much quality or not so much. So that's where we are, and we are looking to build a resource center in Serbia. If you think about Reggio Emilia in Italy, something along those lines, but much smaller and more modest. But again, the notion of self-directed learning, child learning, and looking at this in a holistic manner really appeals to us. And ultimately, we'd like to have a situation where Eastern Europe is a hub of excellence for early childhood education, early childhood development. And that's something that we simply cannot do entirely by ourselves, nor are we inclined to do it by ourselves. It's something that necessarily requires the sort of human capital that's here in this room in order to really make transformative change happen. And yes, it is a question of financial resources, but there's so much more to that. And really the key things that I want to impart here are not trying to do things on your own, because if you do, you're dealing in a human environment, and sometimes people look at you with some animosity or envy, or it's really about being very collegial, non-territorial wherever possible, and truly embracing a sense of humility. If you come into the room thinking you're the best, that you know the best, that you have the best brand, and so forth, you will alienate everybody, and you will achieve nothing, and you will be fighting political turf wars as opposed to doing what really matters, which is helping kids. And so from our end, we know that we know a lot, and we also know that there's a lot that we don't know. And so it's availing ourselves of the wisdom of others and appreciating that there's a local appetite and local dynamics, just like there are international ones as well. We speak openly at all times. We put our cards on the table, and we let people know where we stand and what we're looking to do. And it was interesting because not that long ago, I mentioned to one of my senior managers, I said, look, go out and have some exploratory chats about this project that I want to get off the ground. And she told me, well, I can't go out and have exploratory chats because if I do that, people are going to know what we're up to. And I thought to myself, well, that's not the right attitude, because the right attitude should be, let's have the exploratory chat. And if somebody listens to what we do and it resonates with them, maybe they're interested in embarking that journey along with us. So we're really looking to have a big net and make alliances and friendships and coalitions wherever possible. And by the way, this is a great opportunity as well. I always, anybody who's interested in Eastern Europe, by all means get in touch, because we are extremely collaborative in that. Yes, we're local, but we're also global. And as I pointed out, I don't know if I necessarily accept that dichotomy. And there's a lot to be said for cross-pollination of ideas across borders. And so we're both. We're global, we're local, and I encourage that sort of mindset to those in this room who might be having to fight those sort of conversations and questions in your boardrooms or management teams. And lastly, it's just about not being dogmatic about how support is generated and funneled. So, somebody could give me a big check and say, good, Alberto, here you go, it's for the Novak Djokovic Foundation, go do great things. and I wouldn't turn that away. But somebody could equally say to me, look, Alberto, because of your energy and enthusiasm, we're now enthused ourselves, and we're looking to get involved, and as a consequence, we're going to go ahead and bilaterally give to that specific cause on the ground, but we've been inspired by you. That's perfect. I absolutely don't care how it happens. All I want to know about is that when it comes to 2030, I can look back and say the world, the landscape is a better place, in part because of what we did, and that's and that would make me very happy. So, anyways, that's my time up. I have truly enjoyed being here, and thank you so much for having me over. So I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Alberto Lidji. You are an essential voice to bring unusual and new advocates in social investment, and we need so much from you.